we've got a lot of bones over here, and we got a lot of questions on them as well from in through the email and on social media. But basically, first of all, what makes this discovery so special?
Well, there's a couple things about it. One is it's one of the very few sites where there's more than one Triceratops that's been discovered. Triceratops, that tells us that Triceratops was probably not a herding animal like some of its relatives, but probably was more often solitary. Here we have what we thought were 3 individuals, which might not be 4 individuals. So this is pretty exciting. It tells us something about behavior and just all kinds of potential information we can gain from it.
All right. Well, we've been digging for quite a bit today, and we have the tiny tooth of the very small one.
Mm-hmm.
How much do we actually know about very small Triceratopses, and how much do we have here already?
Small Triceratops are very rare. There's one fairly decent, maybe 50% of a skull that is at the Museum of the Rockies, and there's another specimen that was collected in South Dakota that is just like 2 or 3 bones from the skull, and then some of the skeleton, part of the pelvis and things. But I think we're going to learn a lot about the ontogeny, how these animals grow. We know that these individuals were more than likely the same species. In fact, maybe even a family group.
So, given the sediments we've got here, do you have any idea, and comparing with sites elsewhere, any idea on how and why all these Triceratopses died here?
Speculating upon that, these animals, since they're buried here together, we can assume that they lived together and died together here as well, which also gives us the idea that perhaps it's a family.
How many skulls do we know of Triceratops so far, and how does that relate to how many complete skeletons we have?
So we now have, over the years, there have been probably something close to 100 skulls for Triceratops collected, and it's one of the best known, publicly known animals, dinosaurs. But we know, we up until just a few years ago, we knew actually very little about the skeletons. There were no complete skeletons. In fact, all the ones you see mounted in museums are composites of 3 or 4 or more individuals. In fact, sometimes they would stick on parts of duckbill dinosaurs, duckbill rib cages and duckbill feet, because those are parts that were either never collected or just plain weren't found. We now have 2 pretty good skeletons that have been collected over the past few years, and all the other specimens you see are composites or casts. So even though everybody thinks of Triceratops as being one of the best known dinosaurs, having a skeleton is something very precious, very rare, and is going to teach us a whole lot more about how these animals grow. Having, not only an adult or maybe 2 adults here, we've got 2 youngsters of varying ages. This is going to teach us, or has the potential to teach us, a whole lot about how the parts of their skeleton grew, and perhaps grew at different rates than other parts of the skeleton. So the chances for really learning more about this animal here at this site are tremendous. We're going to learn a lot about Triceratops just from these bones at this site.